शिव बाबा पधारे, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्म से शिव बाबा पधारे, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्म मुख से मधुर वाणी, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्म से शिव बाबा पधारे, ओम ओम। ओम की इस मधुर ध्वनि से किया परिवर्तन। प्रेम शांति सिखा के बदला सभी का जीवन। आदिदेव प्रजापिता श्री, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्ममुख से मधुर वाणी, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्म से शिव बाबा पधारे, ओम ओम। सोहनी सूरत मोहनी मूरत, ज्ञान के मोती। भव्य मुख पर चंद्रमासी, चमकती ज्योति। दिव्य दर्शन दिव्य वाणी, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्ममुख से मधुर वाणी, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्म से शिव बाबा पधारे, ओम ओम। विश्व में थी पाप की जब घटा छाई, तब विभूति आप जैसी धरती पे आई। एक तार में बंध के सारे, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्ममुख से मधुर वाणी, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्म से शिव बाबा पधारे, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्ममुख से मधुर वाणी, बोलते ध्वनियों। ब्रह्म से शिव बाबा पधारे, ओम
Om Shanti, good morning to everybody and warm welcome to Sister Belinda. For the ones who don't know her, let me take a moment to introduce you to family. So Sister Belinda, she has her desire and for transformation and service for humanity inspired her spiritual journey with Brahma Kumaris, which continues for the last 32 years. And she was patiently and gently using tools of meditation and self-reflection and experiencing with the power of thoughts on herself to reveal and empower her inner potential. So with her experience of the company of God, she is refining her spiritual practice and helping others to discover their true potential. So Sister Belinda is currently a member of a national coordination team in South Africa and currently is based in Port Elizabeth. So good morning, sister, and welcome. Wide family is happy to have you this morning here, and I give you the mic now. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, and good morning to everyone. Thank you, Stefan, for the introduction. And just to check, is the sound okay? Yeah, good. So very lovely to be with the European family this morning. And warm greetings. Actually, in South Africa, it's the end of winter. And I think winter is giving its last attempt to show itself like Maya. And it's quite cold at the moment. So what I wanted to share a little bit about this morning before we read the Murli is my own effort. Perhaps like many of you, since the world has changed so much in the last 18 months or so, the attention has gone more and more to the first lesson, the foundation of soul consciousness. And perhaps it's because the world is going through more and more turmoil. Perhaps it's natural that we turn back to our foundation. But I've been seeing recently how the practice of soul consciousness has such a profound effect on that gift that Baba has given each one of us, which is the divine intellect, or the third eye, as Baba sometimes refers to it. And just seeing how the practice of soul consciousness contributes towards the health and the strength of that divine intellect. And of course, the divine intellect is very, very important. Baba tells us how important it is. And we know that it is something that is not stagnant, that we strengthen and we sharpen that divine intellect through our efforts. And I was just seeing how when the practice of soul consciousness slips, the first place that I notice a change is there with that divine intellect. And how it kind of manifests is that Baba's perspective, which he gives us every single day in the Murli, Baba's perspective is seen more clearly when the soul consciousness is in place, and therefore the divine intellect is functioning more strongly. And Baba's perspective shows us how Baba experiences his world. And of course, his world is also our world. But we have the challenge because the old world still has some grip on us. And what we're really trying to do is to shift our reality from the old world reality to Baba's reality, Baba's world. And what I've noticed is that the more this happens, the more secure the soul becomes. And that security has nothing to do with what is happening in the old world. And this is so important for us because we watch as the old world becomes more chaotic and more challenges for the majority of the population of the world. But when we have Baba's reality, when we hold Baba's reality, there is a greater and greater detachment from the old world because our sense of security is now coming from the unlimited, from beyond. And this is, as I say, very important for us because Maya still wants us to find some sense of security in the old world. And later on, I'll share a little bit about some of those challenges on this side of the world and some of the experiences of that. But the feeling of security, the experience of security is important for all human beings, Brahmins and the rest of the world. Everyone needs to feel secure. And our sense of peace and stability comes from that feeling of security. And Baba's world is the ultimate security. First of all, the soul is immortal, and the soul is from a dimension that never changes. And that creates a deep sense of inner security when something is so stable. And of course, the relationship with Baba, the very subtle relationship with Baba as the point, is the eternal relationship. And that never changes, irrespective of whether we're in that experience or not. So we see how Baba's reality, when we grasp it with the divine intellect, is this very deep, secure experience. And of course, we transmit that to others as well. And this is what others experience from Brahmins, that, why are these souls not panicking about the state of the world? Why is it that they are calm and peaceful? And it is something that we can't fake. It really has to come from that deep understanding of the divine intellect. and then the experience that comes from that. So just a few thoughts, and let's come to Baba's Murli now, and we'll see how Baba gives us an insight into his perspective on things. So today is the 28th of August, and the essence of the Murli. Sweet children, do not believe any gossip you hear. If someone tells you wrong things, let them in one ear and out of the other. Question: what are the signs of children who maintain the happiness of knowledge? And the answer: they continue to merge their karmic accounts of suffering for their past actions in happiness. When you have the happiness of knowledge, you forget the world of pain, sorrow, and suffering. Your intellects are aware that you are now going to the world of happiness. Ravan curses you and caused you sorrow. The Father has now come to remove you from this world of sorrow and suffering and take you to the world of happiness. The song: having found you, we have found the whole world. The earth, the sky, everything belongs to us. Om Shanti. You sweetest spiritual children heard the song. You children should surely have goose pimples, because it is said that there is no nourishment like that of happiness. All of you spiritual children have now found the unlimited Father. There is only the one unlimited Father, and you children know that when others belong to the Father and become his children, they too will have goose pimples. You children know that you had a kingdom and that you then lost it. You are now claiming a kingdom once again. This is good news for the people of Bharat. However, that is only when they listen to this and understand it very well. This is truly a matter of happiness. The Father comes every cycle. The birth of the Father is remembered here. All the festivals are of this time. So Baba referring to Shiv Jayanti. The Father has come and shown you a very easy path. People have so many different types of sorrow. When you have the happiness of this knowledge, all pain and sorrow become merged. When someone who has been ill is close to full recovery, everyone feels happy. Everyone feels very happy. The illness and sorrow are forgotten. The members of their own family, their in-laws and friends, all become happy. You children know that all of you were the masters of the world, and that Ravan then cursed you. This is the world of pain and sorrow. Then, tomorrow, it will be the world of happiness. When the world of happiness is remembered, all sorrow and suffering are forgotten. This is the Tamo-Pradhan world. There are different types of suffering of karma. There are so many assaults against innocent ones. Many types of obstacles come. These obstacles and these days of the suffering of karma will last for just a short while longer. The Father gives you patience. Only a few more days remain. This also happened in the previous cycle. The accounts of the suffering of karma have to be settled. Continue to merge all of them in happiness. Simply continue to remember the Father and the inheritance. Don't perform wrong actions. Otherwise, there will be even greater punishment and the status will be destroyed. It is the children's duty to remember the one Father. The Father says, remember me and your sins will be absolved. Your karmic accounts will be settled. A very short time remains. Continue to settle your karmic accounts because you are sticks for the blind. Remember this and also continue to show others the path. Many obstacles will come. As much as possible, continue to tell everyone to remember the Father. These words are very well known. Man Manubhav means, O souls, constantly remember me alone, and your past sins will be burnt away. There's no question of being confused about this. Simply remember the Father, and you will become Sato-Pradhan from Tamo-Pradhan. You know that you have been around the cycle of 84 births. You have continued to go around the cycle and will continue to do so. This is the old world, and these are old costumes. Forget these. This is unlimited renunciation of souls. Their renunciation is limited. They just leave their homes and family. So Baba referring to the sannyasis. Those are their parts in the drama, and they will repeat again. Every second that passes is the drama. Then that same drama will repeat again. All the scriptures are books of the path of devotion. After devotion, there is knowledge. It is very easy to explain the picture of the ladder to anyone. You can put up the main pictures in your home. The Trimurti is very clear. At the top is Shiva. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar are residents of the subtle region. And then there is God, the highest on high. You children know that the place where the Father resides is also the residence of you souls. Whether you call it the land of nirvana or the land of peace, it is the same thing. The name land of peace is correct. And the land of nirvana means the land beyond sound, which means the land of silence. That is the land of peace. And then there is the land of happiness, peace, and prosperity. Then there is the land of sorrow and peacelessness. In the land of happiness, there are limitless treasures. What is it today, and what will it be tomorrow? Today, it is the end of the Iron Age, and tomorrow it will be the start of the Golden Age. There is the difference of night and day. It is said, the day and night of Brahma and the Brahmins, the mouth-born creation of Brahma. Deities exist in the day, and Shudras exist in the night. You Brahmins are in the middle. No one knows about this confluence age. Human beings are in extreme darkness. It is the duty of you children to take everyone into extreme light. The same Mahabharat war is in front of you. It is remembered that those who have non-loving intellects at the time of destruction are led to destruction, whereas those who have loving intellects at the time of destruction are led to victory. You children know that Baba is once again giving you the same kingdom. No one can snatch that kingdom away from us. Ravan began to exist in the Copper Age. Ravan snatched away our kingdom. Therefore, consider him to be your enemy. Only an enemy's effigy is made and burnt. He is a very old enemy. Although it is said that this is the kingdom of Ravan, it doesn't enter anyone's intellect. Therefore, this is called extreme darkness. The unlimited Father is knowledgeful. He is called the bestower of knowledge, the bestower of the divine eye. Now, each of you souls has each received a third eye of knowledge. Previously, you didn't know anything. You now know everything. The Father is the ocean of knowledge, and so he would definitely speak knowledge, would he not? How can the knowledge be revealed unless he speaks it? You see that the Father gives you knowledge through which there is salvation for half the cycle. Devotion has to continue for half the cycle. Only at the confluence age does salvation take place through knowledge. Nothing of the children can ever remain hidden. The Father says, whenever you perform any wrong action, tell the Father. Baba knows that many continue to perform bad actions. This is the kingdom of Ravan. Maya slaps you. Nevertheless, many continue to hide everything. Baba says, whenever you make a mistake, tell Baba about it instantly, and Baba will then show you a way to be saved from it in the future. Otherwise, it will continue to increase. Lust is the greatest enemy. Some write to Baba, Baba, there's a lot of opposition from Maya. None of you has the constant yoga that enables you to remain safe from Maya. There's a lot of body consciousness. Many are slapped by Maya. Baba continues to receive news from everywhere. So many wrong stories are printed in the newspapers. Nowadays, people can make up so many stories. So, Baba is seeing the state of the world right now with so much fake news. He says nowadays people can make up so many stories. They are Tamobradhan. When Vyas had a Raja intellect, look what he wrote. Father explains to you children, don't get upset by believing things you hear from others. So-and-so said this and did this. That spoils your head. They don't understand that this is a Tamobradhan world. Maya will try to make you fall. When anyone tells you false stories, let it in one ear and out the other. Very important lesson for us. Continue to give this message to others. The Father says, I bring a message. O souls, now follow Srimad. Listen to my message. Simply, constantly remember me alone. Those who remember me will benefit themselves. Souls have to remember because souls have forgotten. You are now receiving the Father's Srimad. There is no question of asking for blessings or mercy in this. Simply remember the Father. There is no need to ask or do anything. You have also heard how the world cycle turns. There's no argument about it. The Father comes when there is extreme darkness. This is why the night of Shiva is celebrated, Shivaratri. The birth of Krishna is also celebrated at night. They make kheer, that is rice pudding, and puris in the temples at night. What would you make for Shiva? He is incorporeal. No one knows at what moment Baba comes or how he departs. He doesn't stay in the chariot constantly. He comes and goes. You understand that you are now the grandchildren of Shiv Baba. You receive the inheritance from him. Even Brahma receives the inheritance from him. He is a human being. Sri Krishna is number one in claiming salvation. He is loved by everyone because he is in the Satobradhan childhood stage. When he grows a little older, his stage is said to be Sato. Then there are the Rajo and Tamo stages. Sri Radhe and Krishna then become Lakshmi and Narayan. The Father gives knowledge to those he gave it to previously. Deities existed in Bharat. That is why there are many temples to them in Bharat. In the churches of the Christians, you only see Christ. There are so many temples to the deities. Father has come to change you from humans into deities. That is, he has come to make Bharat into heaven. We are becoming pure by remembering the Father. Along with the Father, we too are making Bharat into heaven. It is as though we have come with the Father. On the path of devotion, they incur so much expense creating temples and idols of the deities. They create them, sustain them, and then destroy them. They sink those idols within 9 days. They have a lot of love for them. In Calcutta, they celebrate Navratri, the festival of 9 nights of the goddesses, a great deal. You are now amazed at all of those things. Previously, we too used to take part in that. They spend tens of millions of rupees. There is so much blind faith. They have so much love for the Ramayana, etc. They even shed tears listening to those stories. All of them belong to the path of devotion. There's no benefit in them. Baba is now making us so sensible. You hear all these things here, but you must not forget the things that you hear here. Remember everything. Become completely refreshed before you leave here. Consider yourselves to be souls and forget everything you see, including your bodies. All of this is a graveyard. In the Birla temple, that is to Lakshmi and Narayan, in Delhi, it is written, Bharat was the land of angels and was established by Dharmraj. You children understand that this world is now to become a graveyard. The Father says, everyone has been completely burnt away by sitting on the pyre of lust. It is not said the pyre of anger. It is the pyre of lust that is said. There is slight intoxication or semi-intoxication in that. I think Baba is referring to anger. It's different to lust. The Father sits here and explains to only you children. It would be said of an unworthy child that he is losing his father's beard. The father's honor is being lost. The unlimited Father also says, when you make your face dirty, you defame the name of the decoration of the Brahmin clan, who are to become deities. You children know that you are once again making Bharat into the land of elevated deities with the power of purity. For you, this is a common thing. You can see that the Mahabharat war is just ahead. The gates to heaven open through this war. The Mahabharat war has been portrayed in the scriptures. They haven't shown what happened after that. They simply say that annihilation takes place. On the one hand, they have shown Krishna taking birth from his mother's womb. And on the other hand, they have shown him floating on a peepal leaf, sucking his thumb. They don't understand anything. There you stay in the palace of a womb in great comfort. How could he float on a leaf in an ocean? That is impossible. The whole drama is predestined, and only you know it. It happens in the same way every cycle. You children now have to benefit yourselves and others too. This is the main thing. The Father is the creator of heaven. He is called Heavenly God, the Father. Therefore, we children should then become the masters of heaven. People celebrate the birthday of Shiva in Bharat. So, he must definitely have given something to Bharat. He is now giving you the sovereignty of heaven. The Father is the bestower of salvation. Only the Father, the ocean of knowledge, comes and gives you knowledge. It is now that the Father is giving you the knowledge. He will come here again after 5,000 years. You children have the faith that those who belong to the Brahmin clan will continue to come here. Acha, to the sweetest, beloved, long lost and now found children. Love, remembrance, and good morning from the Mother, the Father, Bab Dada. The spiritual father says namaste to the spiritual children, and the spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father. Essence for Dharana. Number 1. Benefit yourself and others by following Srimad. When someone tells you false things, listen to them, but ignore what they say. Don't become upset by them. Second point. Pay attention that the name of the decoration of the Brahmin clan, who are to become deities, is never defamed. Never perform wrong actions. Settle your past karmic accounts. The blessing today. May you be complete and perfect equal to the Father, and have the same stage in praise and defamation, in victory and defeat. When a soul reaches the stage of completion and perfection, he maintains equanimity in praise and defamation, victory and defeat, happiness and sorrow. Even in the midst of sorrow, instead of having waves of sorrow on your face or forehead, let waves of happiness and joy be visible. Even while hearing any defamation, do not feel it to be defamation, but praiseworthy words to make you mature in your stage of perfection. When you have such equanimity, you will then be said to be equal to the Father. Do not have the slightest attitude of someone being an enemy and coming to insult you, and another one coming to praise you. Very powerful blessing. The blessings have been really amazing. Slogan: constantly pay attention to practicing yoga, and you will claim a number in the first division. Om Shanti. So let us take a moment of silence and reflect on Baba's words today. Thank you. We see in today's Murli how important it is to keep the big picture in our awareness. This helps us to be detached from the things that are happening in the Iron Age. And it also shows us how Baba sees everything. For Baba, the cycle is like a neat package. You get that sense from Baba. You know, he says, yesterday it was like this, tomorrow it will be like that. And the more we're able to see this perspective that Baba has, the more we're able to then have that same level of stability and detachment from what is happening at the level of the drama. And Baba touching on this aspect of listening to the things of the old world. And now more than ever, it applies to us because we have the opportunity to be on social media to a greater extent than ever before. And it can be the source of a lot of Maya, because one can get swallowed up, first of all, by the sheer quantity of information that's available to us. But fake news is big business, and sometimes it's difficult to discriminate between what is real, if there is anything real in the old world, and what is true. Some of you may be aware that a few weeks ago there was a lot of violence and upheaval in South Africa. It wasn't throughout South Africa, it was certain areas. But the way in which the unrest was planned, and it was very, very strategically planned, and it was spread through social media. And that is why for those who created it, it was actually a great success. But what has continued is the spreading of a lot of information that creates fear. During that time of unrest, there was a lot of the spread of fear through social media, but it continues. And recently there was a big hype that there was going to be further unrest. And of course it has a deep effect on people, because many people experienced the loss of property, the fear of their own lives, fear for their own lives. So when that gets spread through social media, that it triggers that memory, that very recent memory of what they went through. And even those who didn't go through it get caught up in the fear. So I'm not sure about Europe. I know that you have had some challenges, definitely with COVID, and recently floods in Germany, I know. But I think nowhere are we completely unaffected by either climate change or political upheaval or financial upheaval. It comes in different ways. And today Baba has really encouraged us to settle the accounts that we have pending within us, and to settle them in a way that we merge them. I was thinking about, what does it mean to merge an account? And well, for me, the obvious was maybe going through something physically with the body. And I think many of us have some or another issue with the body. And how to merge that? First of all, the old habit of thinking about whatever it is that we're going through, and the mind can get absorbed by thinking about either illness or some misfortune that we may be going through. And this is where the divine intellect is so important, because if it is activated and it's awake, then it will also keep the mind in the unlimited, in Baba's dimension. Alternatively, if the stone intellect is the dominant intellect, then of course the mind will be kept very much in Ravan's kingdom. As Baba reminded us today, that is the land of sorrow and peacelessness, sorrow and suffering actually. So we have a choice to be in the land of sorrow and suffering when we settle our accounts, or we use that divine intellect to keep the mind in the unlimited. And definitely the account will be settled, and we know we have the choice to settle it either through pain or through yoga. Baba really encourages us to go for that second option. And he says the accounts will definitely be settled. But the mind plays a huge part in that settlement, because if we get caught up and the mind gets into repetitive thinking, compulsive thinking, then we know what happens to that account. It definitely increases. And many of you know that it's more than 10 years ago that this body went through cancer. And it was an extremely rich experience. And I still talk about it because I still draw from that experience many lessons. And one of the things that I remember is that even in the darkest time of chemotherapy and what have you, there was a reoccurring thought that was like a light in the consciousness. And that thought was, when this is over, something extraordinary will have happened. One doesn't know where these thoughts come from, but it was there, and it would come back. Really, in dark times, it would come back very powerfully. And so what it did was it instilled in the soul this absolute conviction that this was a settlement, and that when the settlement is over, the soul is free. And I think Baba was also trying to tell us that today, that accounts have to be settled. Try as much as possible not to add to the already accumulated accounts, but settle what is there, because then the soul is going to be completely free. And the feeling is that, in the blessing, it says, when a soul reaches the stage of completion and perfection, the sense is that completion and perfection is there. It's not that we're trying to become complete and perfect, but it's that we're trying to clear away the things that block our vision of that perfection. And vision meaning also experience. So what is it that blocks the perfection and completion of the soul. It is nothing more than the accounts of the past. We may be aware of them by observing our sanskaras. But at some point, if the sanskaras are still there, then that account will show itself at some point. And this is the time of the cycle where we actually want it to show itself. We want it to emerge so that we can hopefully see it and make the right effort using the right method to finish that account. But if we don't finish it and it emerges in the form of an account, in other words, there is some disturbance through it, it's okay, because this is the time of settlement, but not to go down that road of indulging in the pain and the sorrow, but to use our soul consciousness, our divine intellect, and Baba's perspective to settle that account as lightly as possible. And just knowing that that's what it is so helpful. Then we don't get caught up in the why and the how and the when. But we're able to just know, okay, Baba, you told me that this is the right time now. And actually, when it's time to fly, I want to fly free, so that I win this race and come early in the golden age. And also that I fly home easily and lightly. I can salute Dharamraj and move and fly back to my sweet home. So those were a few thoughts, and I know you also share some news. Is that right, Brother Stefan? Shall we have a bit of news?
Well, not really. The only news for the next week for the speaker, that would be Sister Pratibha, but we have still more time for you if you want to share. And there was the question that were in chat, you already answered them about news in South Africa. And I'm just wondering, do you have some insights as I am facing those questions of people who are not in knowledge, in Gyan, but they know that I'm involved in this kind of spiritual practices, and they are asking quite often when this will end and how, what would be the future, what should we do. So do you have some thoughts of how to approach those kind of people who are seeking for some answers from us and doesn't want to go really deeply in the spiritual knowledge that we do?
Yes, it's so interesting that people are really asking this question now. So it's very clear that this is on people's minds. So I'm going to answer your question, but at the same time, share a little bit about the situation in South Africa, because I think that it is connected. So South Africa, as you know, only got its democracy in 1994. And so it's been a long journey of trying to set right that which was unjust according to Drama, because of the apartheid system. And however, just as Gandhi dreamt of Ram Raj for India, I think Mandela and many others dreamt of a just society in South Africa. But as Brahmins, we know that the Iron Age is on a downward spiral, not an upward spiral. It's only at the confluence age that we are in the upward spiral. And so what we see in South Africa is quite a rapid breakdown of systems and both political, financial, and social systems. And COVID has really speeded that up to a great extent, because the more insecure people become, the more corrupt they become as well. It makes them very selfish. And so we see a lot of corruption, or an increase in corruption. And it's this desperate endeavor to try and create some sense of security. And in the recent unrest, what was damaged the most were the shopping malls. I think it was over 200 shopping malls were completely looted and ransacked. So this desperation of predominantly poor people being told that they can take whatever they want. But of course, it wasn't exclusively the poor. It was the others who also had enough. So, yes, this increase in corruption, and also an inability for people to actually fulfill their responsibilities. So what we find, especially in the small towns, is that the local government, in the form of municipalities, are completely dysfunctional. There's little or no maintenance. So things like water, there's increasing breakdown in the supply of water, electricity, and other services. And this makes people very angry. So there are demonstrations from time to time, and government trying to keep the boat afloat, but with difficulty, because there is such a lot of corruption happening. So I'm sure in Europe, people are looking at perhaps slightly different things, but also seeing globally the breakdown of things that we took for granted previously. And so how to answer them? Even though they may not want to go deeply into something spiritual, the feeling here is that we should try to position the knowledge in a way that is attractive to them. And so we may have to use slightly different language. One term that I found that is attractive to people is the term higher consciousness. and to say to people that, what's happening in the world is really asking us to experiment with a higher consciousness, and to see things through more spiritual eyes, and so that we can see what is happening behind the breakdown. Because what is behind the breakdown is actually a very positive message. Even though people are afraid to lose their very physical existences, and that includes jobs and security, etc. They're afraid to lose that, but they do sense that there is a different way of seeing all of this, and that by developing a higher consciousness, that they will be able to somehow come above the very physical insecurity that they face. And because insecurity brings out the worst in people. The first thing is selfishness, and we see it in governments in the world, but also at an individual level. The more chaotic the world becomes, the more insecure, and the worse the behavior becomes. And so to encourage people to explore a consciousness that will bring a greater sense of security, and therefore alleviate the worry and anxiety that they experience over the world. So I see time is definitely up, and I hope that's helpful, Stefan, and thanks very much for this wonderful opportunity. It's been very, very lovely to be with you all, and I feel very honored to be with you all. Thank you.
Well, there is, I don't know what they told you about time, but we have until 8:30 at most. There is one question, I don't know if you can address it, about the spirit of Ubuntu. Has its roots in African community? Can it unite people? I don't know if you are aware of it or have something to share about that.
Yes, thank you for the question. It's an old word that is used and tradition that is followed in African communities. And it says that I exist because you exist. And so our welfare is dependent upon each other. And it has been traditionally a very powerful way in which communities in Africa have existed and survived through many difficulties. And we still see it to a certain extent in the African communities. For example, they have a saying that says, it takes a village to raise a child. And so in an African community, your neighbor is entitled to reprimand your child or praise your child or help your child. And that is accepted. And in fact, their term, brother and sister and even mother and father very often is not just used for your biological family, but it is used for a broader family. So you might call one of your aunts your mother, or one of your cousins you would call your brother or your sister. So we see that in the communities. And during this time where poverty is always on the increase in Africa, although I really don't like to show that image of Africa, because there is a lot of wealth in Africa as well. And I don't just mean physical wealth, but there's a wonderful spirit in Africa. And we do see, up until today, how communities do help one another. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, as times get more and more difficult, and the selfishness comes in, then we see the spirit of Ubuntu diminishing within communities. But, we've also seen around the world how when there are big challenges, people do pull together. But I think in South Africa, there's a huge feeling of frustration that the dream that democracy gave birth to has not been realized. And so that frustration tends to overshadow people's attitudes. But if you go into the rural communities, the spirit of Ubuntu is very much alive. And sometimes we do have programs on this theme, which is very lovely. So I hope that gives you some information.
Okay, so we can close now the meeting, and we thank you a lot for your time and your effort for this morning. If you want to share some final thoughts with us.
Perhaps the final thought is, just this aspect of what Baba called today the third eye, and find ways of strengthening that third eye, because anything that we use consistently becomes stronger. And it is easy to take Baba's knowledge at a lower level, but the third eye has the capacity really to see as Baba sees, and to know what Baba knows, and to let that bring us into Baba's reality. Thank you so much to Stefan. Thank you to everyone. It was really lovely to be with you. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Sister Belinda. And thanks everybody for participating. So we see each other next Saturday with Sister Pratibha from Kenya. She will be conducting the Murli. And have a nice day and remembrance of Baba, and try to get those things that occur to you let in one ear and out of the other with the divine intellect. Om Shanti to everybody, and thank you.
Thank you. We can finish with a minute of Rishtim.
Yes.
Thank you very much.